We are going to be looking at creepy videos on the internet, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. Now, I really have to say, this first creepy video by Heart Starts Pounding Pod on TikTok really surprised me at the end. I wasn't expecting that.
There's a disturbing reality behind this otherwise normal photo. Can you see it? On July 3rd, 2012, 65-year-old Michael Lemater was running a marathon on a mountain in Alaska. And his wife was so proud of him. She sat up by the finish line to watch him run. But as she starts watching all of the runners finish the race, she doesn't see Michael. Finally, the last runner crosses the finish line and Michael is still not anywhere. So she finds one of the volunteers who was on the trail and he says, "No, I saw Michael running this race." He said he was up by the midway point when he saw Michael running up the trail. Michael asked which way he should go. The volunteer pointed in the direction of the finish line and then Michael went on his way. But that was the last time Michael was ever seen. And I mean, no trace of him was ever found. No footprints, no articles of clothing, nothing. There was no evidence Michael had even been on the trail that day. It's really strange, but it gets even stranger when you realize that Michael wasn't the only person to vanish without a trace from that mountain range that weekend.
I don't know why. I was expecting her to say that he had a heart attack or something else happened to him altogether, but I was not expecting her to say that he vanished without a trace and there were no signs of him whatsoever. I thought he might have went home or left, but like she said, his wife was waiting there for him at the end. Not only that, but other people also went missing that weekend as well. And reading this comment from Notorious Raven, they go on to say that, as an Alaskan, I knew exactly what that photo is, and there's a local case of a woman missing on a busy trail that has never been solved. These haunt me often. Reading more about this Mount Marathon Trail race, this mountain in Seward, Alaska, it seems like injuries are not uncommon, but these injuries are usually minor. Like somebody falls and scrapes their knee or falls and trips on a rock or something like that. Like nobody's fell off this mountain and lost their life. But for whatever reason, that weekend, multiple people vanished without a trace. And still to this day, Michael Lemater still has not been found. This next video comes from the Paranormal Chick.
We have some seal news. Literally, a seal. This is coming out of the Netherlands. Locals have been noticing something odd with a specific seal, and that some are even claiming it's really not a seal, and they actually think it may be a selkie or something else from mythology. But this one has been seen in a specific canal watching people, and it's almost eerie because it makes eye contact with you and just stares. It's not displaying typical seal behavior, and that's what has residents running to folklore and mythology. People think it may be some sort of shapeshifter. Take a look at these next two videos and tell me what you think. Is it a real seal doing seal things, or is it something more? Comment below.
The way it just stood there and watched the camera as if it knew it was being recorded, I just gasped. I don't care if that's normal seal behavior or not. If that was me, I would immediately delete that video footage, go over to that water, and profusely apologize. Because that's the type of stuff you hear about in creepypastas. One of those creepypastas where you're recording an animal, the animal knows you're recording it, it's watching you, and then 3 a.m. as you're trying to sleep, you wake up, and it's standing over your bed watching you. No, I'm good. This next creepy video comes from the Interstellar discussion on TikTok, and it shows a drone being fired upon in Russia having absolutely no effect on this drone. But this also kind of reminds me of something.
So Russia was blessed over Moscow with a spinning drone or UFO type object that seems to be being engaged by the military, and the rounds seem to be not really having much effect on what this object is. I mean, you can see something spinning. There's a light at the back. There's no noise associated with this other than the crackling of the machine gun fire. And if we listen closely now, you can't hear it. It circles back, and they kind of give up. And this was seen on another perspective as well, where there's quite a few different perspectives of this object, and each one is just equally as weird. So I'm not sure what to think. Again, very strange. And the fact that it's being engaged and having no effect, very strange once again. Alright? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Russia, get a grip, bruv. What is going on? Jeez.
Does anybody remember those news articles that came out towards the end of 2024? I think it was December, where the Pentagon said that there were drones flying over military Air Force bases. We all had the question of, well, why isn't the military, why isn't the government taking these drones down? And they said that, well, we could, but these drones, they are not hostile, they're not breaking the law, even though they are flying over restricted Air Force bases next to F-35s and other very important equipment. So we came to the conclusion that it's not that they don't want to take them down, is that they can't take them down. Maybe these same type of drones flying over Russia are the same type of drones that were flying over the United States and over certain Air Force bases that couldn't be taken down. This is a very good video by Pretty Realist on TikTok. Not only is it a good video, but it's very important information we should all be aware of when it comes to these job-seeking websites.
Now they're using Indeed to traffic people. Indeed, the app that you're supposed to be using to look for a job. People are literally coming up missing. So I came across a story here regarding some situations that's going on in Florida. I don't know if it's happening in other cities. I have never heard of this. Where people are looking for jobs, going to these places where they think the interview is at and coming up missing. Somebody pull the plug on CERN. Like, pull the plug. Pull the plug, because there are definitely some dark, evil entities that are among us. To play with a person at their most vulnerable time when they are looking for a job. Never mind the fact that people have been looking for jobs, ain't been having no luck. People have already been saying that Indeed ain't worth 2 dead flies smashed. Now they got to worry about the fact that when they actually get a call back, get dressed up and go, and thinking that they about to get a job to provide for themselves, only for them to possibly get snatched up. If you got a job right now, stop complaining about it, okay? Be grateful, be thankful, because it is definitely something really, really nasty going on out here. There's always been danger going on in the country. You a fucking lie if you don't tell me that a lot of this really start getting worse over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's a damn shame that American citizens who may be needing assistance with getting a job and using a trusted site to find one can't even trust the damn site no more. Unplug CERN, unplug Indeed, unplug all of this shit. In fact, just start the whole world over. Because at this point, we are sliding down a razor blade and landing in an alcohol river.
What she says is so true that, I mean, even if you believe demons are real or not, there are some people out there that are just so evil and they will prey on people at their most vulnerable that they're really no different than demons. Now, I was actually going to go ahead and talk about this in one of my obscure internet mysteries videos, but now is a good time to talk about this because there is an article from finance.yahoo.com, and this article was published on November 6, 2014. This article is titled, "Someone has been running this mysterious classified ad for 10 straight years now." You can see the ad right here. They're looking for a research associate personal assistant in New York City. And they go on to say that highly intelligent, resourceful individuals with exceptional communication skills sought to undertake research projects and administrative tasks for one of Wall Street's most successful entrepreneurs. We welcome applications from writers, musicians, artists, or others who may be pursuing other professional goals in the balance of their time. And they're offering $90,000 to $110,000 a year to start, depending on qualifications. And they're asking you to send their resume to gen8r@spsfine.com. They never state who the person will be working for, who the employer may be, and the money is quite enticing. The current ad is now on monster.com. The article goes on to say that the ad seems to have been posted and reposted for a decade now, only with a different email address and other minor changes every now and then. One of the other different emails were mtgen2@gmail.com. This ad is also appearing in the New Republic. A writer for the Huffington Post, they saw this ad and thought this would be perfect for their daughter. So in 2006, they tried to have their daughter recruited for this job. They sent an email, but they received no answer. She once again saw the same ad in the February issue in 2009 of the New Republic. She also noticed the email was different as well, but continuing to read the article, it says, It is not clear when the ad originally first ran. John Ator, a writer from Ohio who is behind Working with Words, wrote, "We've just been tracking it here for 9 years, but I believe the ad began running several years before that. That was in 2013. So someone has been running the same mysterious classified ad for 10 years straight now." Now, just because this Huffington Post writer did not get a response does not mean that others did not. Maybe when people are sending in their resumes to this email, whoever's behind this email is looking for certain things in these resumes, and they're sending response emails back telling people to go to a certain location, and these people are never seen or heard from again. So this is definitely something that's very creepy and something we should all be made aware of. But talking about something very suspicious and creepy, have you all heard the news that a shipping container full of chicken landed on the shores of Jamaica, and these people, they open the container and they're taking all the chicken out, they're cooking and eating the chicken, but people are noticing just how suspicious this happens to be. Now look, I get it. People are hungry, people are starving, but going back to what I said in my previous segment, people who are vulnerable are the easiest people to target.
They have been having a feast. They say there have been several warnings, rather, from the authorities for Jamaicans not to eat the product, but the residents say the chicken is among the best they have ever eaten. Kelisha Williams has that story.
This is all that's left inside the now infamous chicken container that washed ashore an isolated beach in Sandy Hills, Helsha, St. Catherine, a few days ago.
I go in a container, man, take out one whole it, man. Everybody take out chicken, man.
As the materials start to rot, a foul smell in the air, attracting vultures. But the people along Helsha Beach, Sandy Hills, and other communities in Portmore, St. Catherine told TVJ News that they made sure to empty the container before any of the chicken went bad.
Them chicken, there's some iron chicken. Well tender and some sitting. Yeah, man, me have a couple in my fridge. Right now, so to speak, I have a couple in my fridge. You know what I mean?
You eat it?
Consume it, you know?
Consume it.
Yeah, man.
That admission, despite warnings from the Health and Agriculture Ministries cautioning people not to eat the chicken because it may have been contaminated during its journey to the shore.
Now, I just have the strongest suspicion that that container did not float to shore looking at those rocks there. I feel like that container was placed there because in that location, that area, those people were very hungry. They needed food, and miraculously, a container full of chicken arrives at their doorstep. My conspiracy senses, my minutes of horror senses are really tingling right now because I just wonder, are these people some kind of test subject? Are we going to hear of a major disease breakout in Jamaica or something along those lines? Because something about this does not sit well with me.
Y'all don't find this oddly convenient and suspicious that a whole shipping container with preserved chicken, that chicken is still fresh when it hits that sand, just washes up in Jamaica? There's no traces of the ship where this container mysteriously fell from. There hasn't been any claim from any business reporting missing inventory. If I'm handling inventory for my business and thousands of chicken packages randomly disappear, you don't think I'm going to report it? You don't think that shipping container that weighs 1,000 pounds would be further out in the beach? How did it make its way all the way to the shore, just perfectly placed there? And from me doing some research, I found out that chicken spoils quickly. It doesn't take a long time for chicken to go bad. These chickens don't look rotten to me. They look perfectly preserved. You see when something is too good to be true and they're like setting a stage and everything looks perfect? This is exactly what's going on right here. We cannot be that gullible as a society. There's way too many red flags and there's way too many things that are not adding up with this. I'm still waiting on that business to report their missing inventory because that's way too much chicken for you to not say nothing and for you to not report it. My people in Jamaica, don't eat this. Don't eat this chicken. Yeah.
Now look, I am not bashing, I'm not humiliating or putting these people down for eating this chicken. If you haven't eaten in days, you're starving, you're going to look past certain things just to have a meal. I blame the people who put that there because I strongly believe That container was put there on purpose. Sounds like that chicken came from Bill Gates Incorporated. I'm just joking, YouTube. That is for entertainment purposes only.
7th of 2024, a store manager watches footage of something that happened earlier while sounding pretty nervous. He immediately ran to his computer to pull up the video and save it, just in case no one believes him. Something happened as he was unpacking boxes, and he knows that he caught it on camera. In fact, many things happen in this footage, but it's what happens towards the end of the video that terrifies him greatly. Ever since then, he's been watching his back, hoping that it doesn't happen again. The following is the store manager's footage. Watch.
Single night. Just putting things away from the box. All right, now watch. I want you guys to focus on this area right here. Okay? Hold on, let me speed this up a bit.
They haven't got the first clue on how to use it.
All right, watch.
If you have the doctrine right and you stow it on a shelf in your closet and do not pull that doctrine out.
Boom, you see that?
What good does that
Let me get back here for you guys to give you a better view. Look at that. And I'm just like tripping, like, what? Okay, but pay attention to this area right here.
I can grant that they've
watch.
They can teach justification correctly. But so what? It's not what I asked you.
Is that you? Look, I'm here by myself. Nobody's here. It's just me. See that? Come out. I'm not afraid of you. Was that you? I threw down the box earlier? Come on out. You don't scare me. Come on out. Always trying to mess with me. Oh, shit. No. Hell no. Hell. Let me see. Hold on. Where am I? I'm here. Where am I going? What's that? Look, there I am right there. Look, you see that? You see that? No. No.
Now, I truly don't know how he would pull something like this off if this was a hoax, but my thing is, I would not be working alone inside this store of this size by myself. That would be my first day and my last day working at a place like that. That is really eerie.
When did the North Pole go from being this or this to this? Yeah, so when did it go from being 4 rivers, 4 big giant islands, and a big magnetic rock at the middle to this? And then this one is, what was his name? Cornelius de Jode, and this was in 1593. So all 3 of them depict the North Pole as being 4 islands, okay, with magnetic rock, black rock, Rufus Nigra at the center, okay, and this one's just covered up, but it was the same. You got the 4 rivers. People will say the Mercator's map was fictitious, even though all these maps show even like there's Florida, extending out. It's pretty close. It's not perfect, but it's close. So you're telling me people that built these amazing structures that we look back on and go, how did they do it, didn't have boats to map this shit out. If it's so easy to prove that it's fictitious, just give us an aerial shot. Give us an aerial shot of the North Pole. Now look really close. You've got this island right here, which is this island right here. You've got this island here, which is this island here. This one here is this one here. They're the same. And if they can get all this right, why is it that much further, just a little bit, and this is all false?
Does it surprise anybody that they would lie to us about certain locations or certain things on this earth that are depicted differently on older maps? And the thing is, if you go to Google Earth, Google Maps, you will see there are a lot of things blurred out on Google Earth, especially when it comes to Antarctica. What is also interesting too, when it comes to these older maps in the North Pole, they talk about a black rock, which is supposed to be a magnetic compass, and this is where supposedly the company or the organization BlackRock got their name from. This next creepy video about the cryptid, the Hatman, comes from Parahan on TikTok.
The scariest case to come out of this is probably the scariest case to come out of the Appalachian Mountains. Now, this one is personal to me because I actually worked on this case. Now, I had a friend who lived in North Carolina, and he was a paranormal investigator. He reaches out to me one day and is like, hey, so I got this weird case, and, I'm kind of stumped. Like, could you help me with it? Apparently, there was this Native American family who lived on the reservation, and they had a daughter who was like 16 or 17, and at the time, she was getting dropped off from a friend's house one night at her parents' home. Well, her friend drops her off, and she said when she got out of the car, she had to walk down this like bumpy, gravelly, muddy road. And she said as she's walking down this gravel road, and right next to her, is the woods, she sees this man standing on the side of the road. And she said he had this black hat on, a black cloak, and she said she couldn't really see his face at the time because it was turned. And she said as she walked a little closer to him, he turned his face, and she said he had no mouth, no nose, but these solid red eyes, and he was just staring at her. Well, she said, she walked as fast as she could to the house, and this man began following her. So she runs inside her house, and she's screaming, crying at this time. Her dad's like, what's going on? Why are you crying? And she said, there's this man out there in a hat, and he was following me. So her dad runs out of the house and just starts looking for this guy. He doesn't find anyone. He doesn't see anything. And he's like, you sure there was a guy out there? And she's like, yeah, I seen him. He was on the road, and he was followed me to the house. So a couple weeks pass, and they start noticing that their daughter is waking up at night from having these terrible dreams, that she is seeing this man in her room. And not only that, she is waking up with these scratches all over her body. In the next coming months, there was something banging on the windows, banging on the doors, They could hear scratching sounds coming from the roof all night long. Except when the father would go and investigate and try to figure out what was going on, he couldn't find anything. And then one night, the daughter is having this terrible nightmare, and the mother in the other room, she could hear this going on. So she walks over to her bedroom, which the door is halfway open. She looks in, and she said she could see a man standing next to her bed with this hat and this cloak on. She goes in her room, she flips on the lights, and she said it was gone. And not only this thing was, attacking, this girl was attacking their home. It had left scratch marks on the truck, on the home. There were claw mark footprints all around the home. These are real pictures from some of the damage that it was causing and the scratch marks that it left on this girl. Now, I started looking into this case, and I started researching what we come to know today as the Hatman. And as I got deeper into this case, I started to notice weird things were happening to me. Like, I lived up in Chicago at the time, and one night I'm asleep, and I just remember it was 3 a.m. I wake up to the sound of a scream, and I'd never heard anything like that before. So I immediately jump up. I think someone's in the house. Like, what is going on? I searched my entire home. There was no one there. The doors were locked. The windows were closed. So as I'm getting ready to go back to bed, I walk past the living room. And as I turn, sitting in a lazy boy recliner is what looks like a man in a cloak and a hat, just rocking. And I look again, he's gone. But I could see movement of the chair, and that's someone obviously had bumped it or had been sitting in it. And that like sent chills down my back. And I immediately like went into the bedroom, closed the door. And mysteriously, as all of this started, it just one day stopped. And to me, what I thought personally was this was a case of the Hatman.
Now, I myself, I've never encountered the Hatman, even though I've had plenty of cases of sleep paralysis. I've heard many strange things in my ear, and I've felt this horrible fear, but I've never seen the Hatman. But those that have, and I have friends that have, always say they feel this incredible sense of dread, but they also notice they have scratches or bruises on their body that they can't account for, and it usually happens directly after they have this encounter.
The 24-year-old man in that video, named Effican Kultur, died from obesity-related issues after blowing up on social media for posting mukbang content. So Effican, who was from Turkey, blew up here on TikTok and posted tons of content involving mukbangs. If you don't know what mukbangs are, they're essentially videos where hosts eat a large amount of food while interacting with the audience or sharing stories. And Effican posted a lot of videos of him doing these sorts of things. Sadly though, shortly after he became famous, his health began to decline. Earlier this year, Effican was admitted to the hospital for obesity-related issues. And before he passed, it was reported that Effican couldn't even move himself, and that his health had gotten so bad that he couldn't even go to visit his own mother's grave, who passed away in the year 2024. And then on March 7th, 2025, Effican passed away. At that point, he had been in the hospital for 3 months already, and I couldn't find an actual exact cause of death, but everybody who's reported on this just said that it was obesity-related issues. In the wake of Effican's death, the Turkish government has claimed that they want to ban social media usage for children under the age of 16, claiming that it's dangerous for kids to be exposed to content like this. This is obviously a horrible way to go, so to Effican's entire family, my condolences.
That video came from the Paranormal Files on TikTok, and this is something I have been talking about for quite some time now on my other channel, where a lot of videos that have a lot of good information and they are seen as quote-unquote conspiratorial, they get deleted. But we have content like this where we have creators and people, they will gorge themselves on camera, eating a ton of food, gaining all this weight, becoming very unhealthy, all for social media, all for clout. And these social media platforms, they allow it, to the point that these people end up passing away because not only is there an addiction of food, but there's also the addiction of fame, money, and so forth. They are also attracting and enticing other people to also fall into the same lifestyle. It is very sad that this young man passed away, but the mukbang lifestyle is a very, very dangerous lifestyle. It's very unhealthy, and I'm surprised that it's still promoted and allowed on social media. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.